All right. Yeah, this is Browns fandom. I'm really going to stand up here and talk about the Cleveland Browns. When I was first asked to do this presentation, I was trying to figure out what people would actually want to hear from a guy who has 2 small children, a wife, and 3 young businesses, and I figured, well, maybe managing time. But I didn't know how to spend 18 minutes talking about how to buy an iPhone, keep it charged, keep it in your pocket. And that's really what it takes. So instead, I want to talk about how important the Cleveland Browns have been to myself and my family and life. And really, I subtitled this "Misery Brought Good Company," and I think that I'll circle back at the end of the presentation to understand what that is. But I want all of you guys, I don't expect everybody here to understand what it's like to live and yearn for your football team. But I think everybody in here probably does understand what it's like to love something that's hard to love. And so, whether it's a football team, or your city, or someone in your family, or someone you know, think about that labor of love, and I think it'll resonate a little bit better with you. So, this really started, the concept of this really began because of my children. And up there you can see all 6 of my children. I consider my businesses my kids. But the 2 toughest ones are in the middle there. My 3-year-old Axel and my 1-year-old Nash, who are donned in Cleveland Cavs and Cleveland Browns jerseys. And these 2 sad saps have to grow up in Asheville, North Carolina, and perpetually be berated with questions of Browns fans. Why? And the audacity of that why question comes from a serious history of colossal failure. And I feel like I don't want to assume that all of you guys don't understand the history of the Browns, so I wanted to give you guys a little background about why that why sounds so terrible. When you do a quick YouTube search and you look for Browns success, Browns highlights, there are none. They don't exist. You find Cleveland curse. That's Ernest Biner bending over, crying after he fumbled on the goal line in the NFC Championship. Cleveland Browns bottle gate, where the Browns' performance was so terrible that the Browns fans threw bottles on the stadium until the referees called the game. And one of the bottoms is like the most hilarious to me, because it says the top 10 worst Cleveland Browns starting quarterbacks since 1999. Who has the ability to create an entire list of the top 10 worst in a 14-year period? How do we have 10 bad ones? I mean, there's other ones too, right? Like, it's unbelievable to me. So I thought I'd share that with you. Hopefully that gives you guys some great background about where I'm coming from. So why? It's this guy, who happens to be sitting in the back. The Browns fandom is a sickening hereditary disease that's passed on by the patriarch. There's no way around it. You're born into this. Some of you in this crowd I know are born into the same problem. It's not me and me alone, and it's not my children. But I've become the patriarch, and I'm now passing it to my young children, the same way that this happy man, and I wanted to put these happy photos up. Because most of the time, he's my hero. My father is my hero, and I love him to death. Watching a Browns game with my father is about the worst 3.5 hours of your life. So I'm showing him in a great light here. So the wonderful thing about being a Browns fan, and this is what I tell these people when they assault me about why I'm putting this plague upon my child, is that I've learned 3 incredible lessons. And actually, during the creation of this slideshow, I realized there was a 4th, and really the most important one. And the first lesson is perspective. If you don't have a good perspective about understanding what's important in life, you're not going to get very far. And Browns fans sadly qualify their own lives by the success and failures of the Browns. It got really bad for us Browns fans in '95 when Art Modell moved the team to Baltimore. And we got a team back after 3 years of having to sit it out. We got a team back in '99, and it almost was worse getting a team back. Because since then, we've had 77 wins with 166 bad losses. We've got 0 playoff wins. We've had 19 quarterbacks in 14 years, and we have a 20th one sitting on the bench that we're all going to have to see sooner than later. Super Bowls? Yeah. That's a joke. So, the great thing, though, is that it doesn't all have to be that bad. Because it's not that important, and if you don't qualify your life by these minor failures in life, you can still succeed. Because in 2000, when the Browns were 3-13, I got accepted to Worcester and had some bumps in the roads, and with some little support and moderate debate skills and the wonderful support of Dean Buxton, who I wish was here to thank, I got to remain here. In 2004, Browns got 4 wins, but I met my amazing wife Jessica, who's a Worcester graduate. I got IS honors here at Worcester, and I took off to law school. In 2007, we went 10-6. You'd think that's a great thing. We didn't make the playoffs. And there's literally almost nothing worse than having success and it mean nothing. So, despite that, I didn't get my head down. I finished my law degree, I took on a partnership in a law firm, and I built a successful practice in Seattle. And when I had 5 wins, I got married, and I started Reiser Legal, my beverage law practice. In 2011, we had 4 wins, and the Axeman cometh, that was my first son, Axel. And also, we formed ClaimKit, my future. In 2013, 4 wins again. We opened Burial Beer and the arrival of the Nasherman, my second son. In 2014, when I wrote this, we were 4-3, and I don't know if you guys have paid attention the last 2 weeks, but it's been a pretty great couple weeks, including this Thursday. So things seem to be turning, and that'll come up later. But despite the Browns' travails, we funded ClaimKit, and we expanded Burial Beer and Reiser Legal. It's been a very good year. So, the perspective, I think, for me, always, for my entire life, was that it didn't matter. And that I wasn't going to let it qualify my life. And most importantly, that kind of results in this lesson 2, adversity. The Browns, through all their miserable failures, have still found a way to win games in times of serious adversity. Last year against the Bills, we had a hometown Cleveland quarterback named Brian Hoyer that we were all excited about. He won 2 games in a row, and in the 3rd game, he tore his ACL. And it was that same old curse conversation again. But we prevailed. We brought another quarterback in, and we managed to win that game. This year, down 28-3 against the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee, and the Browns managed to find a way to come back and win that game, their largest comeback in the history of the Cleveland Browns. Pretty incredible. So if the Browns can do it, so can I. And so can you. And I had a wonderful, this wraps up really my exploration with ClaimKit. ClaimKit is a surety and insurance company, consulting and technology firm. We help take over major construction defaults across the country, manage the data, prepare them for litigation, and we build software that hosts this information so that they can both collect it and share it with the relevant teams that need it. ClaimKit was formed in the attic of my business partner Chris Cheatham's house in the wake of us both having 1-year-old children and deciding whether or not we really wanted to continue with our legal careers or start something special. And we had a wonderful idea. We started as a service company. We did about $250,000 in revenue in 2012 and 2013. But in 2012, we ran out of money. And that was the reality in about October. I had a real phone call with my business partner. We had to decide whether it was time to shut this down and go back to our lives and take care of our families, or if we were going to push through and try to survive, and we did. We hung up all expenses, we took no income, we pushed through just long enough until that one big project came through, and to this day, it was the most important project in the history of ClaimKit that pushed us through 2013, where we again ran into a very big brick wall when we started talking to business consulting firms and investors who were interested in our model, but didn't understand how we were going to survive in this very, very small and narrow niche of surety industry. And basically pushed us to widen our market and say, if you don't widen your market, you're going to fail, you're going to die. And it took a lot of laboring to determine and to sign on that dotted line and to say, we're going to protect this niche, it's going to be ours, and we're going to be special with it. And it paid off. We pushed through those barriers. In 2014, we were able to attract nearly $1 million in investment capital that allowed us to expand our technology, allowed us to bring in sales team, new technology team, and operations team. And because of that, we're now working with the 3 largest sureties in the country. Lesson number 3, commitment. This is the one I think that most resonates with me. This is Gene again, a model Browns fan. There are probably some other baby boomers in this audience that have the same problem. Being born in the 50s, 63 years without a Super Bowl champion. I don't know how you've done it. I've lived 32, and if I get to 63, I'm unsure how it's going to work out for me. His prior demeanor was shattered hope. I think that's the best way to define that. It was a constant belief that there was no hope. But oddly enough, this year we're winning. And that commitment seems to finally be paid off. Because I'm seeing strange optimism with this guy. And so, he never let that dream die that someday the Browns could be something beautiful and could win. Despite the fact that he really tried. And I felt the same way about my company, Reiser Legal. It was a business I couldn't let die. Reiser Legal was formed in beginning of 2010. I left the partnership with a firm to start my own practice to focus on green building law. Green building law was something special to me, but not as special as craft beer. I fell in love with craft beer around the same time. I helped a friend's brewery out and was able to decide to make a pivot in my law career. And I started what was really the first craft beverage law practice in the country at the time. Brewerylaw.com was our website. And we focused on that. We started with just a handful of breweries. And in 2012, ClaimKit came to fruition, and I had to say, I don't have enough time for both of these. I have to let it die. And that was seemingly the realization to me, was that I was going to have to let this thing die. And I couldn't do it. I put too much time and effort into this thing. I built something that I loved and I thought was beautiful, and it meant a lot to me, and I didn't want it to die. So I got really, really lucky, and I found the right partner. And in Danielle, my new law partner who runs Reiser Legal on a day-to-day, I found the same commitment to providing affordable legal services to craft breweries and helping foster this industry into growth. And because of that, we've expanded our client base more than 100% in less than a year. We've embraced trademark law, which has become a massive source of income for our firm. And we've rebranded into this really cool-looking old lager can kind of style and expanded into a wider market. And Reiser Legal is healthier than ever. So, how do I culminate this? I was doing a slideshow and I was looking for pictures to share with you guys because I feel like you need to see my pain and you need to see my commitment to it. So, in doing that, I realized that while those 3 lessons were important to me, the best part about being a Browns fan was the company that it brought me. You know, spending the time with my kids and my family, and both of those, Axel and Nash, right after they're born, in Browns onesies. It didn't matter that they left hospitals in Seattle and Asheville, they were going out in Browns onesies. And my wonderful wife, Jessica, who graduated from Worcester here in 2005, and somehow puts up with our family curse and has even adopted it by choice. And she deserves a round of applause for that. And also continues on to the rest of my wonderful family. My little brother, Timmy, and my son, Axel, wearing his Browns thing, hamming it up, and Timmy and Eric on the right there, who invited me to a Browns bus in September for an incredible time. And in the middle is really, I hope everybody, this guy is famous in the middle. He's the Browns boo guy. If you ever see the Browns on ESPN or anything like that, they always show the boo guy as a sign of how terrible we are, that our own fans are booing us. Browns boo guy is none other than class of 03 Alex Hasty, who recruited me to this very university. It was because of a very eye-opening recruiting trip that I decided to come here, hosted by Alex Hasty, who is now the head of Hasty Law Offices in Columbus, Ohio. And I really wanted to kind of wrap this around this whole idea of company around burial beer company. For the first time in my life, I started something that we weren't focused on making money. It wasn't about being a profitable corporation. It wasn't about trying to feed our family. It was about building something that we thought was beautiful that we could share with the community. And now my wife and I have a serious love and affection for craft beer and the people who make it, both the farmers who grow the grain and the hops and the people who make this fine craft. And in 2010, we started with a trip to Belgium, and that's us, these 3 fresh-faced people, Jessica, myself, and Tim Gormley, our partner, in Cantillon Brewery in Brussels, where we hatched the idea to start a burial beer company. And 4 years later, you see us, more grizzled, weathered veterans, who've been through a lot to open this, we call it the Shanty Brewery in the Alley in downtown Asheville, North Carolina, which recently went through an expansion to add a production brewery and taproom facility, and has become an incredible labor of love for us. And the whole idea behind this was to educate the public, bring them together, provide a place for them to share each other's wonderful company. Because what I've learned over all this time is that that is what is most valuable about being a Browns fan. And so, in summing up, I wanted to say that the Browns are getting better, and I don't know what to do about it. I know that I want my kids to enjoy that, and maybe they get better, maybe they don't. But if they stay bad, they have these lessons they can learn, and if they get good, they have their own lessons that they can teach to their children. But either way, I'm okay with that. So thank you guys very much for listening.